BORTLE here from the YCS Remote Duel event. My goodness, we have here top 8 contestant Cameron. Please introduce yourself to the world and what deck did you use today?
Hi, I'm Cameron, and I used Mekk-Knight Orcus.
Mekk-Knight Orcust. Man, it's pretty nice seeing all this diversity in the Remote Duel series. What made you decide to play this deck for this event?
Yeah, so I wasn't going to enter the event, so I wasn't really confident in most of the decks that were out right now because I didn't like Tri Brigade because they lost the two interactions on the play, but they had a lot of room to play generic cards, and then I didn't like Drytron because the anxiety over getting drilled was too much. So I decided to just play whatever deck I had on hand, and I've been playing Orcus for the past 5 months, and I felt I was just the most comfortable with it.
Before we see the actual deck profile portion, though, would you like to do some shoutouts?
Shout outs to YBM. He lets me hang out at the shop a lot, do a lot of testing, just generally gives me a lot of time to play and interact with players. Definitely in the COVID era. And shout outs to my friends at Anyone's Game. We're just a player group in Southern California. Uh, we just love to hang out.
Sweet. Without further ado, please take it away with your top 8 Mekk-Knight Orcust deck profile.
So I ran three purple and one blue. So the purpose of my deck is not to use the Mekk-Knights as like the aggro strategy. It's rather to just search for Girsu. So I ran 3 and 1 because I liked purple because it recurs every turn, but I didn't like blue because if you interact with it, you lose. But I needed the blue to get the extra extender on board to make a Dingirsu. And then we ran 3 Girsu, and then the 3 bricks, and then 1 scrap recycler. Girsu is the heart and soul of the deck. The only purpose for the deck is to summon Girsu and resolve all of its effects, and then protect your board. That's about it. Because when I was designing decks, in the pre-COVID era, I ran Altergeist and lost to uh, blowout cards, and then I played Eldritch when it came out, and we lost to blowout cards. So the thought process between choosing the Mekk-Knights was the Mekk-Knight Orcus was that these cards can protect your back row by setting up Crescendo and setting up Dingirsu, so your opponent will have to interact with my traps. So this deck, spoiler, is a control deck. It's not a combo deck. And then 3 bricks. I don't like to run any other bricks because they're indeed bricks. The more you run, the higher chance you have to brick. And then I chose Scrap Recycler as my honorary Orcust, because this one can make Almirage, which lets me summon purple, which lets me get the purple going. I didn't choose Armageddon. I didn't choose Grapher because they can't make Almirage.
Oh, nice. And for those listeners that don't really know those bricks names, because it's been forever to see Orcus over here, that was One Nightmare and
Yeah, one
one.
wand and then one symbol skeleton. Then for hand traps, we ran 3 crow and then 3 ash. So the crow is subpar versus the Tri Brigade matchup, but I beat almost every Tri Brigade I went against except the final Tri Brigade, and I went against like 5 Tri Brigade players.
Oh, wow.
Mainly I just sided out for Kaiju's or Judgment. And then Ash Blossom is just Ash Blossom. It it does the most. It's bad versus the Tri Brigade matchup also, but if you get them in a state where they're like digging for cards, like this stops like desires. Like you usually just want to stop the desires once they establish the monster. But other than that, like it's just Ash. So for spells, we have 3 prosperity, 3 memory, and 3 return and 1 return. So I'm just looking for Girsu. So these cards get me to Girsu. This card is searchable, so I'd only run one. And it conflicts with Prosperity, so I don't like to see it at all unless it's like my follow-up turns.
Oh man,
Uh,
Memory is such a cool card by itself.
yes, memory. So like I always joke with my friends like they go through all my back row, right? They go through all my interactions and they don't establish a board. And then at my end phase, activation of memory, like I get my whole engine back. I get that purple to banish, and then I get all of my cards back because I'll get that Girsu. I get the purple back, and then I can activate the purple again to get the blue. I can normal summon the Girsu, and it's just GG from there. I get like 5 cards back. For traps, so the traps is the core of the deck. It's not the Mekk-Knights, it's not the Orcus, it's actually just the traps. So I run a lot of traps. So I run 3 strike, 3 crackdown, three Torrential, three Divine Wrath, and then one Crescendo, and then three Imperm. So the strikes are obvious. The strike's the best trap right now by far. It's just generically good. Crackdown. So the joke before this was I asked the storekeeper to give me Divine Wrath and Storming Mirror Force, and he was like, "Why?" Because I was like, "I'm building it budget for fun." So, but I found that Divine Wrath was extremely good, and uh, Storming Mirror Force it could out Dragoons, but it wasn't as good because people were like citing back row hate. So I found that Crackdown could optimally take out a Tri Brigade player, it could take out a Sky Striker player, it could take out a Salad player. So Crackdown was just overall extremely good for just dealing with like eternal format decks or mid range decks. And then Torrential Tribute for the blow up card versus like all the spam decks. And then Divine Wrath. So Divine Wrath is meant to just kill ultimateness or just kill perfection. In all honesty, you should be running Droplet because Droplet's just the better card. I didn't have Droplets for this tournament, so I ran Divine Wrath. Divine Wrath still does what it says it does, and it's extremely good versus the Tri Brigade matchup because you just see them banish all their cards and then you just wrath it. Crescendo is the searchable one of. It overperforms every single game. If it doesn't resolve, I'm probably losing. If it does resolve, I'm probably winning. And then three infinite impermanence. It's infinite impermanence. It overperforms versus Tri Brigade again, and I went against a lot of Tri Brigade. No Drytron though. No Drytron. Surprisingly,
Oh,
after
wow.
like 13
Yeah,
rounds.
that's pretty wild. I mean, you prepared so much for Dryton with the Divine Wrath and everything, and yeah, dodged it.
Yeah, dodged it completely.
And what's the main deck count, by the way?
The main deck counts 40.
Oh, perfect 40, man.
Mhm.
All right, go on.
So I ran three Galatea and then two Dingirsu. Sometimes the third Dingirsu comes up, but not in this tournament. Uh, Galatea is the heart and soul of the deck. She just sits there and becomes a problem because you can't Dark Ruler no more her. If you negate her, she just turns into Dingirsu, and she forces out a lot of cards. And if anything goes wrong, you just make another one. She there's a limit in the OCG. I run for the power cards. I run one Zeus and yeah, one Zeus, one Boral Sword, one Access Code. Um, Access Code only comes up if you go into your light links, and your light links only come up in round 2 or 3. So this is like the late game kill. This is the early game kill in the Boral Sword. When you have your purples coming back, you just and you have a Crescendo still set or a Strike still set, you just make the Boral Sword, and you're protected from anything that may happen. And then Zeus, Zeus is played against the control decks. So if you summon, so if your Girsu resolves, you get to the Galatea, and you're not locked into darks yet. And then you make the Dingirsu out one of their cards, and then you attack your token you gave them, and then you make a Zeus, and then you clear the board, and then you activate Nightmare targeting it, and then you get all of your cards still. So that's the thing with Zeus. It can just clear boards by itself, and it's an insane card. Moving on, I'm running one IP, one Night Phoenix, and one Nightmare. Unicorn. They're just spot removal. Phoenix comes up a lot. Unicorn doesn't come up as much unless I'm going for the access code play. IP is usually banished unless I'm against Tri Brigade. I keep it in versus Tri Brigade because Masquerena into Unicorn interacts with them, and they're all ignition effects, so they don't get that card. Let's see, Lib and Morningstar. Lib is a new addition to the deck. So when you have your memories engraved, you just summon Lib and you set another memory, getting you back into the engine. Morningstar is always banished off Prosperity unless you specifically have Wand in hand. And then you just use your Mekk-Knights to summon Morningstar, pitch the Wand, and then get another memory to get back into the engine. And then the final two cards are Almirage and Link Kribo. Link Kribo's imperative to the combo, just the starting combo. And then Almirage is specifically only for the hand where I have Scrap Recycler and Purple. That's the only time I'll use it. All the other times I'll Prosperity it because I just want easy Prosperity targets. It could be another ding if you just want another ding.
Wow. Speaking of prosperity, real quick, it's man, your extra deck's extremely tight. I was just curious, what are the like quick six targets if you're going first blind? Just
Oh, So
Banishing.
I never banish 6. But the quick 3 is Almirage, Morningstar, and IP. So these would be the 3 I always banish. And then the less imperative cards, if I know, is Lib, Phoenix, and then one of the power 3, if the power 3s aren't applicable.
Oh wow!
Because
So 3 of your Galatea is always going to come up.
yeah, Galatea always comes up. Like 3 Galatea always comes up in the grind. I never banish Galatea. Okay, moving on to side deck. We have 3 Godarlas. The situation never came up where Godarla was more useful than Gameciel. I'd probably just play Gameciel at this point because my Dingirsu can go over Gameciel and Dingirsu can't go over Godarla. 3 Jolan Lockbird. I never cited it because I never saw Drytron. 2 Nibiru, 1 Triceratops. I never cited Nibiru because I didn't see Drytron or Salad or like any. Well, I did cite it versus Adignister and it did win me that game. But other than that, I didn't see what I cited it was meant for. And then 3 Judgment, and then 2 Twister and 1 Feather Duster. Uh, Judgment always comes in when I'm going first, and then the Twin Twister and the Feather Duster are just general for back row. So against so when I'm going into the second game, I typically slide out the majority of my traps that aren't going second. So like say I'm going in striker, I just cite in all my aggro cards going second. Just cite in all aggro cards going second, and all of a sudden instead of being a defensive deck, a defensive trap deck, I'm just an aggro go second deck. So you just switch it up. It's like smoke screening. Um, and then if I'm going first, I side in hard going first cards. And then typically it just mixes up how the player interacts with me.
And perfect. And it's pretty nice seeing you abusing the Mekk-Knight cards to utilize Gearsu to full extent.
Yep.
And thank you so much for being on this channel here today, and congrats on your top 8 at the first ever YCS Remote Duel event, man.
Thank you.
And listeners, if not a part of BORTLE Nation, sub for BORTLE. It's that easy and it's free. Oh god, yes. BORTLE out.